Hello, crafty friends. This is Anya General with Ink, Paper, Scissors. In today's video, I will be creating 3 simple and clean Valentine's Day cards with a stamp called Love Bug by Brutus Monroe. I love the ladybugs the most on the stamp set, so I definitely will be using those, and likely the Happy Valentine's Day sentiment also. Here are the cards that we will be creating. These cards will be super quick and they will be 1-layered cards. I had so much fun creating with the stamp set today that I decided to create 3 cards instead of just 1. I love the sentiments in this stamp set also. One of them is the definition for love, which I thought was a cute idea. Okay, so let's get started on our card. I'm pulling out my Misty and an A2 card panel of Neenah Classic Crest Solar White cardstock, which measures 4¼ inches by 5½ inches. Then I'm aligning the stamp on my A2 card base to make sure that it is straight and that I have enough space for my sentiment at the end. Then I'm closing my Misty door to grab my stamp. Then I'm picking up my black ink that is Copic Marker friendly. My favorite Copic Marker friendly inks are Gina K Amalgam ink and Memento Tuxedo black ink. I am also rubbing the stamp with my fingers to condition it so I can get a good impression since this is a new stamp. New stamps tend to have a coating on them and don't stamp well until you condition them. I'm inking up my stamp with my Gina K Amalgam ink and I'm stamping it twice to ensure that I have a solid black impression. Then I'm getting my stamp chamois that I'm storing in a salt and sugar cellar which has a flip top. And I'm cleaning my stamp before removing it from my Misty door. Now it's time to start coloring. Today I'm using RV29, which is one of my most favorite colors, RV69, R37, R35, T1, T3, T6, and I also have my blender in case I need it. When I use my Copics or any alcohol markers, which really are my favorite coloring medium aside from ink blending, I always start with the lightest color first. Today that is my T1 marker, and I start covering the full area that will be gray. I am coloring the bottom or under part of the big mushroom cap and the mushroom stamps. I only do a quick pass as I'm not worried about it looking smooth or even at this point. I just want to cover the area so the paper is wet with alcohol ink. Then I take the darkest gray I selected, which is T6. I create the shadows in a thin line. I usually try to envision from where the light or sun would be coming from and then decide where the shadow would be. I don't spend a lot of time on it as no one is going to be double checking your light source. Then I take the medium color, T3 in this case, and I extend it from the darkest color. What I mean is that I color over the darkest area and a little past that. Once I've added the medium color to all sides where I want the shadow to be, then I take again my lightest color, T1, and I color over the whole area again, including the darkest area and the medium colored area. This creates a nice transition between the colors from light to dark and vice versa. You will also notice that I move the paper rather than trying to color from an uncomfortable position. It is much easier to move the paper and it gives you much better accuracy to stay within the lines. Now it is time to move on to the caps of my mushrooms, which I want in red. I'm using R35, which is my lightest color, to color the mushroom caps. Here again, I am moving my paper rather than coloring in different directions. I have also decided to color the ladybugs in the same color as I know it will change a bit before it's done and then it won't look exactly like the bottom of the mushroom cap. Then I'm moving on to RV69 to create deep shadows which are on each side of the mushroom cap. Then I'm moving on to my medium color, which is R37. I use R37 to blend out the darkest color, RV69, and create a color variance between the bottom of the mushroom cap and the side. Then I'm switching to RV29. This is one of my most favorite colors in the collection. I blend over the darkest areas and fully color the bottom and side of the mushroom. Lastly, I am using R35 again on the ladybugs to make sure that they have a deep color that is smooth. Then I'm using RV29 to color the 3 hearts above the ladybugs. Then I'm putting my A2 panel back into my MISTI and getting my sentiment stamp aligned to make sure that it is straight and in the position that I want it to be. I use VersaFine Onyx Black ink to stamp the sentiment so that I have a crisp, dark black impression. I stamp it twice to make sure that my impression is solid black. To finish up the card, I'm getting my gems. Today I'm using red pearls, which I purchased at Little Things from Lucy's Cards, and these are the glossy berry mix pearls. I place 3 on the card around the image. The last thing left is to glue my card to my card base, and my card is finished. Now let's move on to our second card. For this card, I have decided to use the bees and the sentiment, "You are beautiful." I am following the same process as before of using my MISTI to align my stamp where I want it, conditioning the stamps by rubbing it with my skin and using Memento Tuxedo Black ink to stamp the image, and VersaFine Onyx Black for the sentiment. For the coloring, I'm using Y13, Y15, Y19, Y38, B000, R17, RV29, T7, and T9. If the Copics that I'm holding are not fully matching, it is because I pulled out more Copics that I needed and did not end up using. I'm coloring the wings with B000. Then I'm using R17 to color the hearts and RV29 to create a deeper shade on the bottom of the hearts. Again, notice how I'm moving my paper around to make it easy for myself to keep my color in the lines. I am starting the color on the bees with Y38, which is really my darkest color. I am using it to use on the smallest bee strip, closest to the tail and on the darkest part of their face. I am using Y19 to blend out my darkest orange-yellow color, so consider this my medium color. Then I'm moving on to my lightest color, which is Y15. If you ever have a bleeding Copic marker, like I have right there, it's essentially a marker that is overfilled. Open both sides of the marker and lay it down on your workstation for a few minutes. This will give the alcohol ink time to air out a bit. If your marker is very full, it may even take 30 minutes or more to dry out to a normal level. After a couple of minutes, you should be able to use it, but I would still leave both caps off while you're coloring so it doesn't start bleeding out on your image and ruin your work. For the darkest strip on the bee, I'm using T7 on the edges and T6 in the middle. Then I'm noticing that it is not dark enough for me, so I'm bringing in T9 to color the edges of the strip and T7 to color the middle. Once I finish my coloring, I add glue to my A2 Nina Classic Crest card and glue it to my card base. The last thing to do is to add some gems. The gems that I'm using for this card are pink fresh jewels called Sunshine. And then it's time again to move on to our third and last card. On this card, we will be using the snails and the definition sentiment, Love, 1, an intense feeling of deep affection, which I think will make for a wonderful Valentine's Day card. I am following the same process as before of using my MISTI to align my stamp where I want it, conditioning the stamp by rubbing it with my skin, using Memento Tuxedo Black ink to stamp the image, and VersaFine Onyx Black for the sentiment. For the coloring, I'm using RV29, R27, R14, YR18, YR16, YR61, YR65, Y38, and Y19. I also ended up bringing in YG00 for the eyes of the snails. On these snails, I will be mixing reds, orange, and yellow, so you will see how much possibilities there are with alcohol markers. You could potentially blend any colors together and make it look great. While you're watching me color, I want to point out that if your paper is well saturated with alcohol ink, you can add color the way I am doing on the snails and it will blend almost by itself, as long as you have good paper that is smooth and works well for alcohol ink blending. I am using Neenah Classic Crest Solar White because it is one of the best ones. Okay, let's catch up with what I'm doing in my video. I am using R27 as my base color on the hearts. Then I'm adding shading with my RV29 Copic marker. Then I'm using YR61 on the snail's neck and face and YG00 on the snail's eyes. I am then taking my YR65 marker and adding shading on the snail's neck and face. And then I'm moving on to blending the snail's shell. I'm taking my lightest yellow, which is Y19, and I'm coloring it on top of the shell. Then I'm blending YR16 and YR18 with the yellow and towards the middle. I want the middle to be more red. So in order for the ink blending to be easy and look natural, you have to use natural strokes when you put ink on paper. For example, I am using flicking motions to make it look natural, and because the paper is saturated with ink, I don't have to go back over the color with the light ink. Once I finished coloring with my Copic markers, I add glue to my A2 Neenah Classic Crest card and glue it to my card base. Then I'm adding Spellbinder's Aurora Borealis gems around my image and my card is finished. Thank you for watching my video and spending your time with me. I hope this video inspires you to color or create something fun today. If you have any questions about Copic coloring or would like for me to make more videos like these, please let me know in the comment section below. Please press the like button so YouTube shares this video with others. I would also love it if you would subscribe to my channel and press the bell icon to be notified when I post another video. Thank you and have a blessed day.